Let's get this sports podcast party started, all right?
The J Reels Podcast.
Why don't you wait until July 1st to make an announcement? What a disgrace. He can rack up all these numbers in October, November, and December, but what really counts is let me see this in January.
The sports rebel without a pause, delivering fast-paced, jam-packed sports talk like no other.
Listen, I gotta call it as I see it. He is not a good player. I'm sick and tired of having to deal with the disappointment of this franchise. When does it stop? And yes, another winter that I can sleep in peace. Coming correct, direct, and in full effect. Let's get it.
This is the J Reels Podcast. Welcome aboard.
What is happening, my good people? Greetings. How are you? How's it going? How's everybody doing out there? What is the latest and greatest? Hope everybody's doing well, feeling fantastic, in excellent spirits. It is the Ides of March. They have arrived. Spring will officially arrive. Count them. 4 days. Same for the NCAA Tournament. The Sports Dead Zone is now gone, but here is the latest podcast to detail everything that is happening in the world of sports, as this is the J Reels Podcast with Joe J Reels. For my first timers, welcome aboard. And for those who've been banging with me going back to the very beginning, somewhere in the middle, even as early as this past Thursday, I welcome you guys and gals back. And just like I mentioned about 10 seconds ago, we could finally get rid of the dust, of the dirt, the cobwebs that were just kind of sticking all over us as we just try to get through the dirty, rotten, maybe even smelly and stinky tunnel that was the Sports Dead Zone Part 1. And granted, it had its moments. There was a lot to chew on throughout the course of these 5 weeks, considering that the Super Bowl was 5 weeks ago yesterday. And even though going through this slog where there were some slow moments and there were some times where it seemed like we weren't going to get out of it, but here we are. Now with the tournament on the eve of that, technically, when you think about the first four, when it comes to the teams that are trying to get into the bulk of the tournament, which, as we all know, begins on Thursday. And that's where I'm going to start. I have to start there. Yes, I could talk about the WBC, which I'll get into next. Whatever's happening in the NBA, NHL, even some golf and tennis I got for you. So, yeah, this is going to be a big-time smorgasbord of sports to get into. But with the tournament and how I look at it on a grand scheme of things, 30,000-foot view, I've been saying this for weeks, and I'm going to reiterate it. And when you think back to just last year, with how the tournament shook down, where you had 4 1 seeds, I don't think you're going to get that in back-to-back years, but to me, it is very top-heavy that I would be a little bit surprised if you got 2 for sure, maybe even 1 Cinderella when we get to a Final Four when it's all said and done. Because with the way college basketball is now, and I get it, it's fluid with the NILs and with the transfer portals and players jumping ship all over the place. And even though you have teams, and maybe one team that I have in mind as a pseudo sleeper, although I don't trust them altogether, and I'm going to talk about that more on Wednesday's live stream. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel here on YouTube, please do so right here at J Reels to get all of the latest and greatest of what's happening in sports. But when it comes to the way I look at it here, before I break down each region and go through the bracket, I don't see a team that's really going to stick out. Yeah, they may win a round. Yeah, they may get to a Sweet 16. But if they're going to really get deep into the tournament, whether that means an Elite 8 or even a Final Four, I'm going to be surprised. I really am. This isn't going to be a situation where you're going to see the brackets where you're going to have a 4 seed, a 2 seed, a 6 seed, and a 9 seed make it into the Final Four. Again, I'd be floored if that's going to be the case. So that's why I want to start from that perspective, because just like I've said all along, if you've listened to the podcast here over the last few weeks, I feel as if it's going to be a situation where you're going to have a lot of top seeds. What I mean by top seeds, not just the 1 seeds across the board, but you're going to have a 2, you're going to have a 3, that's going to be there when it's all said and done. Anything less than 5, I think could be a surprise. Maybe 1 team. Anything more than that, I cannot see a double-digit seed getting to a Final Four this year. And yes, there could be a surprise. Yes, there could be a team that's going to come out of nowhere. Of course. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball to predict that. But when I have taken a look at the landscape, not only throughout this year, but even go back to last year, and you could say, well, Jerry Riddles, what does last year have to do with this year? Absolutely nothing. But to me, it's a carbon copy. Because when you had all 4 1 seeds make it last year, whether it was Florida, Houston, Duke, Auburn, I believe was the last 1 seed, they all made it. And even when you look at the regional finals last year, I believe there were 3 of them were 1-2 seeds, and 1 of them was a 1-3. So you didn't have a 6 seed, you didn't have a 9 seed, you didn't have a double-digit seed get to a regional final. And let me see if I can pull that up real quick. I think I may have it here. Here was your regional finals as far as the seeding goes. Florida, Texas Tech, where Florida won by 5, and I know it had a late Florida to win. Texas Tech was ranked 3rd in their region. You had Houston and Tennessee, which went going away late. Tennessee was a 2 seed. Then you had Duke play Alabama, blew them out. Alabama, where were they in the region? 2 seed. And then Auburn beat Michigan State. Tom Izzo trying to get back to a Final Four. And as we all know, the Big Ten has not won a national championship since Tom Izzo's team back in 2000 with Mateen Cleaves. And they were a 2 seed. Do I think that's going to happen again this year? I can't say. That is going to be you would probably get a better chance of getting struck by lightning than to have a situation where 3 of the 4 regional finals were the 1 and 2 seeds. I can't see that happening again this year. You may see a couple, but I would think you're going to probably see a 1 and a 3, maybe get a 1 and a 6. But other than that, I could see this being a situation where you're not going to get a team that's going to surprise somebody and get to a point where they're in a regional final and try to get to a Final Four. And to think, you had 3 1-2s. I could see 2 1-2s. And let's jump right to it after I gave you my whole big picture scenario. I'll start with the East. And I understand that people are going to look at this and say, Duke got screwed. I think another team got screwed in this bracket, which I'll talk about. But yes, this is by far the most competitive of the 4 regions, without question. And for Duke, I got news for you. How many times in the past had they had cakewalks to a Final Four? Sometimes not even getting to a Final Four. And this one, yeah, it's a gauntlet. But you know what? You were a number 1 overall, and I understand that maybe they could get a little bit of a benefit of the doubt considering they pretty much, I'm not going to say coasted, but the last couple of weeks they did for them to get to this position. But when you look at what they have, whether that is UConn, who stumbled coming into this tournament, let's face it, after getting waxed by St. John's. You also have Michigan State, where a lot of people are going to think, are they going to be a team that could get to a regional final and go up against the top-seeded Duke? Then you have Kansas. I get it. From one game to the next, you're not going to know what you're going to get. But with Darren Peterson, one of the top players in the nation, who knows? Bill Self, we've seen him get to 2 national championships there for the Jayhawks, but that's also another team where they could be done in the first round. Then you have St. John's as a 5, and this is the team I think that got screwed because St. John's, I didn't think they were going to get a 2 seed. They probably could have gotten a 3, maybe even a 4. You want to flip-flop Kansas and St. John's, you could. But to me, for St. John's, let's say they win their game, which we would think they're going to play Northern Iowa. They're going to play Kansas in the next game. They may not even get to a Sweet 16 when you think about it. And you want to say, oh, well, Duke has a gauntlet. Come on, Duke's going to beat Siena, as we know, and going to play the winner of Ohio State TCU. I understand Ohio State, they could surprise people. I get that. And Ohio State's actually the first game of the whole tournament, 12-15 there on Thursday, notwithstanding the first 4 games tomorrow and Wednesday. But, I mean, Duke is going to have it made to get to a Sweet 16, and they would actually face the winner of the St. John's, Kansas game. So, yeah, that's going to be a tough game for them. I understand whether it's Kansas with Peterson, who could certainly take over a game, or St. John's, to me, they're like the Arkansas of the 90s, the 40 minutes of hell, with the way they play their defense, the way they pressure. And you have the kid Zubi Ejiofor, who has been just outstanding throughout this whole season. So, yeah, they could get picked off there. But so what? Duke has had so many chances and so many opportunities to have a pretty easy bracket on their end that they make it to the Final Four without even a blink. And now, yeah, they got a bit of a gauntlet. So good for them. And who knows how UConn's going to respond after. Now, listen, that game is in their rearview mirror. They're not even thinking about, oh, wow, we got beat by St. John's, Big East Final, blah, blah, blah. But to me, they may have a pretty interesting contest there in the second game, provided that Central Florida doesn't beat UCLA, because UCLA, who lost their guard there in a one, Tyler Bilodeau, and he's going to come back for the tournament, which is good news for them. But I can see UCLA being a little feisty there against the Huskies. Now, I'm not going to give you my whole bracket until Wednesday. I'm just kind of going through it just to give you an overview of what to expect. And then come Thursday, I'll get into not necessarily matchups. I guess I could to a certain extent, because really we could talk about the opening round. But once you get past then, that's it. So, and I'm not going to go game by game to break down some of these matchups, because please, am I going to talk about Gonzaga and Kennesaw State? I haven't watched Kennesaw State play all year, so I'm not going to all of a sudden be an expert on Kennesaw State to be like, well, hey, I think that they're a team. No. I mean, who are we fooling? I mean, could there be an upset there? Of course. But I am not well-versed on Kennesaw State, and quite frankly, quite a few of these teams. Because to watch a lot of these one-bid teams that won in their leagues and to really get a complete feel, now, yes, I could get it secondhand from watching some of the prognosticators or even some of the guys that follow college basketball day in, day out, the John Rothsteins of the world and guys like that. But listen, I'm not going to try to fool you and think that a team like Queens College, when you think about it, wait a minute, are they from the other side of the bridge here where I'm at? No, they're in North Carolina. But are they going to go ahead and maybe pull off a big upset over Purdue, who won the Big Ten tournament there yesterday over Michigan? Sorry to my guy, J-Rod. Cheers, everybody. I'm drinking H2O, who are watching on YouTube and Spotify. But that's my point. I'm not going to go through every game over the first 32 here on Wednesday's podcast to even give you sound analysis on these games as well as the tournament overall. That's why I'm starting off big picture and just kind of breaking down these regions. Well, that's what you have there in the East. You know, Louisville could be feisty, as we know. I can't tell you about North Dakota State and Northern Iowa and teams like that. You'd think they probably wouldn't survive. But, again, I'll touch on that more when we get to Wednesday. Now, in the South, breaking down this bracket is interesting because you have teams that could surprise, but you don't 100% trust. And other than Florida and Houston, which who knows, that could be a rematch there when it's all said and done. And that was unfair to Florida, considering that if Houston does get to a Sweet 16, Elite 8, etc., those games are going to be played in Houston. And now that I think about it, St. John's got screwed. We talked about them. They're also playing in San Diego, and they're in the East region? What? So to me, that doesn't make any sense. And here with Florida, if they face Houston in a regional final, that's a home game for the Cougars. The game's being played at the Toyota Center where the Rockets play. And I understand Florida, they'll have their contingent there, but come on. It's going to be Florida versus the entire city for a chance to get to a Final Four. So that was one that I thought was a bit unfair. But the teams that I'm going to look at here that could be surprising: Illinois, who's had a very good year in the Big Ten, and Nebraska, who's had a big year for them, because we all know they're a football school, and they are a 4 seed. And we understand 4 seeds are tricky in the tournament because a lot of those upsets, you get that 5-12 matchup where you see a ton of upsets, but the 4-13 is also that real precarious window for teams to get ousted in that first round. Now, it's not to say Nebraska is going to lose to Troy, but would you be surprised that they're in a barn burner? Troy's up by 5 with 5 minutes to go? Absolutely not. That's part of the madness. That's part of the experience here of the opening round when it comes to the tournament. But when I take a look at this region, all right, you got Florida, Houston, understood. VCU, they're a team that could be dangerous. They've been dangerous in the past. I understand it was more than a decade ago. Shaka Smart when he led his team to a Final Four. But VCU could be sneaky. I know North Carolina's in that bracket. North Carolina, as a matter of fact, they're going to play one another. And could I smell an upset there? I could. But North Carolina, we understand that with the Tar Heels, even after getting to the national championship game in 2022, they have not fared well here in this tournament. Who knows? Maybe they could be a surprise and get to possibly an Elite Eight, considering that they're going to have to play Illinois in the next round. And Illinois, again, that could be one of those sneaky teams. Granted, sneaky from a standpoint of they've had a good year, and we know that the top two in that bracket are going to be heavily favored to come out of that region. But I do like Illinois, Nebraska to do some damage here. Maybe North Carolina, we'll see. But again, they may not go far because they're going to play Illinois in the next round if they do win. And Clemson could be a pain in the neck. That we'll have to wait and see. I know they're going to go up against Iowa. And I know McNeese State had a good year last year. They won that opening game. I believe they got to a Sweet 16, did they not? Let me look real quick with McNeese State, because last year they were in the Midwest. Yeah, they beat Clemson in that 5-12. They did lose to Purdue there in the next round. So, yeah, they won one game, surprised everybody with that 5-12. And McNeese State here, again, when we look at their bracket this year, as I pull that up, and I know I'm all over the map right now when it comes to McNeese State because I believe they're in, hold on. Well, that, like I said, that matchup there, we have to wait and see. Yeah, Vanderbilt obviously has been very good this year, again in that 5-12. So who knows if they're going to get out. And if they do, they will likely play Nebraska there in the next round. But that region, not as competitive as the East. Tricky with some of those teams that are there, but I think it's well balanced. I think it's very good. And now as we move over to the Midwest, they set it up for Michigan to come out of this region. I mean, I'm sorry. Now they're going to have to play I believe it's the UMBC Howard winner from the first four matchup. And UMBC, remember, that was the team that beat Virginia, if I'm not mistaken, as that 116 seed in 2017, the year before Virginia won the national championship the following year. And that's University of Maryland, Baltimore County. But, I mean, when you look at this region, I get it. Iowa State has had a very good year. They're there. And Virginia has also played pretty well. Got to give it up. But this isn't really a region that is just pulsating with big-time competition, unlike the East or even the South for that matter. Because when you look at it here, Iowa State, you don't have a vintage Kentucky team. They're a 7 seed. I mean, think about it. Kentucky's 7. You used to Kentucky being a 1 or at least in the top part of the bracket. That isn't the case. Tennessee can be dangerous, as you know. Granted that they're a 6, and they're going to play the winner, I believe, of Texas, who, let's face it, Texas shouldn't have been there. And there's a lot of teams that didn't make it that were on the bubble. We talked about that on Thursday, whether it was Indiana, Texas. Again, they shouldn't have even been in this tournament. Auburn's another one. Oklahoma, those teams certainly did not do and fare well here in their conference tournaments to have any shot to get into the bulk of the tournament. But, yeah, how Texas snuck in, I don't know. So you don't have a lot of those teams that, to me, that were on the bubble that got in, that were a surprise. I know Miami of Ohio, which I'll get to in a minute. But when you have in that region, listen, it would almost be an investigation if Michigan doesn't get out of this region alive. That's all there's to it. I know St. Louis, they've had a big year. And they were a team like similar to Miami of Ohio where you would have thought they could have gotten them to a point where Miami could have been in the bulk of the tournament, and they're not. Ohio, that is. We know the Hurricanes are in. But the Billikens there, St. Louis, we'd have to pay attention to them without question. But are you going to look at them if they do beat Georgia and then play Michigan, where Michigan's going to be primed and ready to get to a Final Four? Yeah, there isn't anybody. I mean, listen, Texas Tech, Alabama. And remember, the SEC last year, they got a lot of teams there this year, as we know. But the SEC was big time last year. Highly competitive. I think they took 10 teams last year. I think they took 9 this year. But I don't see that level of competition with that conference this year compared to last year. Good and certainly dangerous, but definitely not the ilk of what we saw last year, where to think more so than the Big East, the Big 10, Big 12, it was all about the SEC. We know the SEC is a football school. Not last year. And this year, they still bringing a lot of teams to the tournament. But for Michigan, I mean, please. They got the best. I'm sure the people down in North Carolina, Duke, they're saying, wait a minute, how did they get a break? And And you know what, Arizona, the same can be said there, where they're going to go up against the Long Island team, the Sharks, with Rod Strickland, and they're a highly intensified team, can shoot the three. On the other side of the bridge, Long Island University, they're in Brooklyn. But Arizona, who had that little bit of stretch where they stubbed their toe, but certainly got themselves back on the beam and could be dangerous. And not could be, they will be dangerous. But that's another bracket that I look at. I'm just like, maybe Arkansas with John Calipari, who have played pretty well. Excuse me. And when I look at the rest of this bracket, I know Gonzaga. And listen, they've had a good year too. Can't discount them. Purdue's been big time. As I mentioned before, they won the Big Ten. But I'm not going to sit here to think that I can see Arkansas having a big time run here. And I think that's going to be the one team that could. And they would play them in a regional semi. So, and Calipari's team, listen, we know last year, beating St. John's, and then they lost a brutal game. If I'm not mistaken, they didn't lose to Texas Tech. Let me go back and check that. But for Arkansas, because I know they beat St. John's. But my point is, yeah, they lost in overtime. That was a brutal game that they lost to them. And you know that Calipari is going to do whatever it takes in order for them to not only go deep, but maybe even try to get to play Arizona in the regional semi. So, and to me, I look at that. That's a pretty competitive bracket, or region, I should say, because I do like Arkansas. I think Gonzaga's sneaky. Purdue's going to be good. BYU's a team. AJ DeBanza, look out for them. I understand he's a one-man wrecking crew, but if that guy gets hot, remember last year, Walter Clayton Jr. for Florida. I understand there were more pieces on that team that were very good, but if DeBanza gets on one of those rolls, watch out. And they're going to play the winner, I believe, of that Miami SMU, if I'm not mistaken. Miami of Ohio. And trust me, I'm going to get to them in a minute. But, you know, then you have Wisconsin, who had a decent run in the Big Ten. But, yeah, when you just take a look at it, the East, brutal. South, uber competitive. West, a notch below that. And then the Midwest, forget it. So if I had to rank each region by toughness, it's East 1, South 2, the West 3, and the Midwest is 4th. And like I said, come Wednesday's live stream, I'll get into who I think is going to advance, who are my Final Four champion, etc. Get into some of these games, get into some of these teams. Miami, Florida, as we break it down. Now, as far as Miami of Ohio goes, this was a team that was undefeated, a team that if they won the MAC, a lot of people thought that they would have been in the bulk of the tournament. And if they lost in the first round, which they did, obviously not a good look, but they are going to play SMU here. I believe, what is that? Let me pull up the schedule. Because the first 4 tomorrow, you're going to have UMBC, Howard, Texas, and NC State. So they're going to play on Wednesday. where Prairie View, A&M, and Lehigh will go at it, and those games will be on True TV. But Miami of Ohio, they're a team that had a great year, as you know, perfect throughout, but then they lost to UMass in the opening round, and a lot of people thought that they didn't even deserve to be in a tournament. But come on, you can't go 31-0, despite the fact that you don't have any quad one wins. You didn't even play any quad one teams. But I'm glad that the committee elected them in, and they deserve that. Now, let's see what's going to happen here as they play SMU, and even if they try to get past that, because considering that they played really no competition, and I guess it was a good thing that they lost, because anytime that you have a team going undefeated, let's say if they ran the table, won the MAC, and now were in the bulk of the tournament, they probably would have got picked off in the first game. Now, we're not going to know who they're going to play. Let's see them win this game first before we could even think about what they're going to do come Friday, considering that they're playing on Wednesday. But I see this being a short shelf because not only the conference that they played in, but, yeah, they haven't really played anybody. I mean, when you look at their schedule, let me see if I can pull them up real quick. I understand they're playing the MAC. But when you're playing teams like Akron and Toledo and Western Michigan and Kent State, and, you know, they've beaten UMass twice, and that's the thing. The third time was not the charm for them. This is a situation where how do you expect them to even play against? Now, listen, SMU, I haven't watched SMU this year either. So I'm not going to all of a sudden think, oh, they have no shot, or, oh, I think they could beat SMU. Hey, listen, I'll watch the game and see if they come out alive. And hopefully they play well enough to win. And it wasn't because it was a bad shooting night by the Mustangs, but yeah, I can't see Miami of Ohio going far here in this tournament, even if they do win there on Wednesday night. So, listen, give it up. Big year, great year. And maybe it was good for them to lose only because they'll go into the tournament not having to have any of that pressure of, oh, geez, we were 33, 34-0, and now everybody's expecting us to have this big run, even though they probably would have ended up being an 11 seed and therefore get bounced in the first round. So that's what you got with the Red Hawks there of Miami of Ohio. And I'm looking at this news here, interestingly enough, with the football. But I'll get to that later on as I'm looking at some of these top storylines here when it comes to what's happening in sports at the present moment. But that's what I have with the tournament. More to come there on Wednesday. So definitely stay tuned. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. All right, now I'm going to turn my attention. I'm going to get in the batter's box, put on the batting gloves, get the cleats out because, yeah, I could have segued to the NBA, kept it on the hardwood, but I'll talk about them afterwards. The World Baseball Classic. This is twofold. Obviously, the game yesterday, USA Dominican Republic, and that's not to discount the other teams that have made it this far, where tonight you're going to have Italy and Venezuela play for the right to match up against the USA team in the WBC Final, which will be tomorrow night, I believe 7 o'clock, or is it 7:30? Somewhere around there. It's going to be on Fox. Let me start there. Why the Fox, the big Fox, in MLB, WBC, whatever, why wasn't that game on regular TV? Could somebody answer that? That would have gotten for them, an enormous rating. I believe that USA-Mexico game last Monday got 5.5 million people to watch. And this is the WBC. This wasn't a quarterfinal or semifinal. This was just a regular game. And understand you have a contingent of Mexicans here in the country, and obviously everybody's going to watch the USA squad and see how they do. But that rating last night, and there's Dominicans everywhere, especially here where I live in New York City, that would have been maybe 7-8 million people to watch that. And in New York, forget about it. That rating would have been through the roof. Why was that on Fox Sports 1 is beyond me. Just like tonight's game is on Fox Sports 1. And I get it. It's Italy, Venezuela. Fine, but what? You mean to tell me that they couldn't preempt The Masked Singer or whatever's on Fox on Sunday nights where they couldn't have put that off for another week? I mean, that would have got a nice rating. I understand it's the Oscars last night, so maybe that's why they had on this one. But there would have been baseball fans that would have watched. In fact, hey, listen, hand raised high in the air. I was back and forth with the Oscars. The wife knew. Yeah, listen, I got to peep this game. And as it was, the game last night itself, now I can segue to that, was a great game. Yeah, a little bit of everything. I understand it was low scoring. It was 2-1. Pitchers duel, bullpens did great, etc. But that was baseball at its finest. Which now leads to my second thing before I get to the game, because I need to just get this off my chest. I said this in November after the World Series, and I'm going to say it now. And I don't care who you are. I've watched all the sports, as you all know. For those who watch me, for those who followed, listen to the podcast, the channel, etc. And I understand there's a place in my heart for baseball more than any other sport. I get that. But you also have to understand this. When it's at its peak, competition, skill, lineup, etc., it is the best sport. Yes, it is better than the NFL. Sorry. Because what you got last night was theater. You had a team that had averaged 10 runs a game, matched 1 million home runs, set a record for the World Baseball Classic. I understand people, Jay Reels, relax. It's the World Baseball Classic. Who are you telling? This is the first year that I've really followed it game in, game out. Now, did I watch every inning of every game? No, I did not. Obviously, last night was different. And USA Canada on Friday, I didn't watch every pitch. It was on Fox, etc. Yeah, I didn't watch every pitch. We know USA won. They beat Canada, etc. But I've been on top of this World Baseball Classic than I have of all the other ones combined. And I knew that if this game was going to be played last night, this was must-see TV. For a semifinal, this wasn't even a final. So now, with that being said, think about what you had yesterday. You had defense with Aaron Judge throwing out Fernando Tatis, which is beyond me. And I'll get to that in a minute. You had excellent pitching. Paul Skeens was very good. He wasn't great. He gave up 6 hits, got balls smacked around the ballpark. But with the help of Judge in his defense and him getting outs in big spots, double plays, things of that nature, excellent. And bullpens, I understand Gregory Soto gave up the home run there to Roman Anthony, which was obviously the game-winning hit in the same inning where Severino gave up the home run to Gunnar Henderson. But the Dominican bullpen was excellent. The same for the USA. You had some drama there in the 9th inning. You had the umpiring, which was terrible. And I understand the ABS system would have been enormous last night. And why didn't they usher that into the competition is beyond me. They have it for the spring training games. Why did they have this here? Because, and you know me, people, I love baseball, but I haven't watched one at-bat of any game in spring training because I could care less. But the ABS system has been implemented throughout, considering that it's going to be ushered in once the regular season begins a week from this Wednesday, 9 days from now. Why couldn't they have it here now? Which would have been enormous last night, considering in the 8th inning, Juan Soto, where you had Garrett Whitlock in, struck out on a slider, which was low in the zone, could have been ball 4. Who knows how that inning would have turned out? You would have had a runner on first with Vladdy coming up, and who was the 5-hitter? Was it no, it wasn't Junior Caminero. It'll come to me. Changed the whole complexion of the inning. And then the 9th inning, after Julio Rodriguez walks, and then a pass ball to get Rodriguez the second, and then after a ground out to get Rodriguez the third, with Gerardo Perdomo up and battling. And this is why. This is the example. How many pitches did he foul off there? It was a 7-8 pitch at bat. Those at-bats are theater. Those at-bats are suspense. Those at-bats have you at the edge of your seat. And I don't want to hear that the Ram-Bear game, that 4th down to Caleb Williams, I understand the throw was miraculous, but were you at the edge of your seat there? If it was 1st and goal or 4th and goal at the 2, maybe, because they're literally at the 1-inch line or at the 2-yard line. You know what I mean? But for the NFL does not have that gripping, white knuckling. I mean, of course, they're white knuckler games, but not like baseball. Because you can foul off 14 pitches and it just extends the at-bat, it extends the drama. NFL doesn't have that. And because there's no clock in baseball with the NFL, time's running out on you, that's it, game over. Doesn't have it. Game 7 of that World Series, I understand they're few and far between, but Game 7 of that World Series can't match what a Super Bowl could. And think about all the Super Bowls. Yeah, you could talk about the Tyree catch. You could talk about Santonio Holmes. You could talk about John Taylor. You could go to all these games. But Game 7, the twists and turns, doesn't have it. That's why baseball is the best sport. At me all you want. Leave a comment. I'll talk about it. And once I'm done here in the next hour, I'll get into it and unpack it. But as far as the game, though, listen, it was a great game. Tip your cap. And I even said this going back to Thursday, how Dominican has just been crushing everybody. And with Skeens on the mound, and you knew he wasn't going to pitch 7 or 8 innings, but I just thought that their bats were going to cool off. I had a feeling that they were not going to produce. And they had a million opportunities. I mean, how many chances? Bases loaded, second and third. Juan Soto grounding into double plays. I understand the Tatis. Why is he going to third on that? 2 outs. He was on first. Ketel Marte, it's a ball to right field. Aaron Judge, clean pickup, thrown out. Stay on second base because you have Juan Soto coming up. I mean, seriously? If you go to the bottom of the order, even maybe, and you don't want to go on Judge's arm. Terrible base running by Tatis Jr. And then Austin Wells gets the double, and then Perdomo gets the hit. Now, I understand he had to stay there on second because he didn't want to get caught in a double play. And Wells is a catcher. He's not fleet of foot. He actually could have scored on that play after the fact because you saw the ball, the throw in was up the line on first base. But you had the top of the order coming up. And that's why you can't run yourself out of that inning. It's debatable. Wells could have tried to score there. I get it. It was 1 out. You don't want to run yourself out of an inning, even with Tatis coming up, because you got Thunder in the lineup forthcoming. And then what happens? Tatis strikes out and Ketel Marte strikes out. And that's your inning. And if you're from or a fan of the Dominican Republic, you have not slept. That is a game that is just going to eat at you until 3 years from now when the next baseball classic comes. Because they had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. I mean, geez. Then Juan Soto grounds out into a double play, bases loaded. I mean, forget it. 9th inning with the walk. And then you had the pass ball there on Neil Cruz. And, man. Brutal loss. And a big win for U.S. I mean, what could you say? That was enormous. They cooled off that offense, despite them being out hitting the game. 8-7. And what could you say? Their bullpen was excellent. Mason Miller out of that mini jam. David Bednar there as well. That was where you got Ketel and Fernando Tatis Jr. with that whole scenario. And Perdomo stole second, too. So they had second and third there with 1 out before getting those 2 strikeouts. Just a great game. What more can you say? There isn't anything else I can add to that. But now you have Italy and Venezuela. And I will say this. I'm rooting for Venezuela tonight for this reason. Italy, who beat U.S. in the previous round, they're not going to beat them 2 in a row. They're not. I'd rather see Venezuela, which is almost like a Dominican light when it comes to the flair, the swag, and a very good lineup too. Not as potent than the Dominican lineup, but they do have a very good lineup. Led by Ronald Acuna Jr. You also have William Abreu hit that bomb there the other night. Mikael Garcia, the Royals third baseman, is very good. And let's see how they fare tonight against Italy, because Italy is not lost. They beat PR to get to this point. And Puerto Rico's been undermanned. No excuses, but they have been. And listen, Puerto Rico, valiant comeback. It was, 8-2, and then they scored the 4 runs and actually had a shot there, but fell short. But I don't know. Is this Italy's year? Now, This is the deepest both of these teams have been in the World Baseball Classic. So one of these two teams are going to get to a final for the first time ever. I'd rather see Venezuela. No offense to the Italians, no offense whatsoever. But I think Venezuela and U.S. would be a better game because I could see U.S. Now, it doesn't matter who they play. They're going to be favored to go into the game. But even if Italy feels as if, wow, we beat them before, beat them again, you think the USA team, they're going to lose to this team twice in a matter of a tournament? I think not. And you're going to have a big-time Venezuelan contingent. I would think maybe even more so the same for the Italians. And remember, Venezuela beat Japan. So that has to account for something. Now, it has to stick by them beating Italy tonight because to dethrone the champs of 3 years ago, and they were down 5-2 in the game, Miguel Garcia hits the 2-run homer to make it 5-4, William Abreu to make it 7-5, and they win 8-5. So, yeah, if they really want to make this magic carpet ride continue, win the night, and then they're going to have house money going into that game against U.S. because nobody's going to pick Venezuela to beat the U.S. there tomorrow night. And that's how I look at it. So, and I'll be fascinated. I'll watch that game tomorrow night. I'm going to watch the game tonight too. See how that shakes down as we get to the final couple of games here of the World Baseball Classic. And then on top of all that, as I mentioned, the baseball season begins a week from Wednesday, 9 days. And just so you know, for those new to the channel or for those aren't familiar, Wednesday live stream every noon Eastern right here on the channel. I will have my baseball preview on that day, which is perfect because it will lead into the game that night. You'll get storylines, predictions, over-under win totals, World Series, etc. I'll break it all down, even a little Met preview from yours truly as the Met fan that I am. So you got that to look forward to a week from Wednesday as let us rejoice. The baseball season is just about here. And as far as exhibition, there isn't really much going on. Nothing really to report from that perspective. Let me just see if I got anything here with the baseball. Nah. That is it. That is all. That is that as we move it along. All right, now let me get into the NBA. And I see you got a ton of comments there. So for those who have been on, and please stay on because I'll get to those in about 20 minutes or so. Ton of comments. I love it. Questions, whatever it may be. I got you guys. But the NBA is at least at the high tops. You had that weird game Saturday night. I mean, how the Nuggets lost that game. Oh. What was it? Was it 108, 106 to score? Austin Reeves at the free throw line. Misses a free throw. Then he purposely misses another shot. He gets the ball back. Hits a floater from the baseline. Ties the game. And then Luka wins it in overtime with 0.5 seconds to go. A brutal loss for the Nuggets. And I talked about this last week and even the last couple of podcasts where that 3, 4, 5, 6 of Lakers, Rockets, Nuggets, and T-Wolves, that is going to be a battle royale to see who's going to be a 3-4. Because as I've said before, and I'll say it one more time, you don't want to be – you want to try to get the home court. You'd rather be a 3 seed because, all right, I get it, pick your poison. You want to get the Spurs in the second round if you advance or the Thunder. And the Thunder are hot again as they've won, I believe, 8 in a row. Could be 9. I'll double-check that. But with the Lakers win, now they're the 3 seed. And this could blink. Come Thursday, who knows? The Lakers will be a 5, and then the Nuggets, who I believe right now are 6, they'll leapfrog over everybody, and they'll be in the 3 seed. So, and they're all separated by a game and a half. But that was a big win there for the Lakers because the 1 and 2 seeds are set to be at 3, to avoid OKC in the second round. I think, to me, it's imperative. I know the Spurs are going to be dangerous. I know Wembanyama's first go around here in the postseason. And whomever's going to be the 7 seed, you would think that the Spurs are going to handle them rather swiftly. But one more time, as good as the Spurs are, they're not automatic. We don't know what they're like in between the ears and what's in their chest. And despite all the talent that they have, and despite the young talent that they have, and not knowing their way around the postseason, when you have a Laker team that knows their way around the playoffs, and obviously have a ton of experience there, led by LeBron and obviously Luka, of course, that can mean the world in order for them to get to the next round. And then at that point, the likelihood of them facing OKC is going to be pretty high. So we just got to keep that in mind as we move it along. To me, that was the top storyline. I mean, am I going to the Pistons lose to the Raptors yesterday? All right, fine. And the Raptors actually have done themselves I don't want to say a favor, but because of Orlando, and they played actually very well here. So they're now currently the 5 seed, and it was Orlando, Miami, the 5-6. Toronto had dropped to the 7, but with Miami losing, Toronto's now overtaken them. And again, you want to be that top 6 seed in either conference, East or West, because at least you get a few days off before you get to the following week where you'll play that Saturday or Sunday to start the postseason. Because you have the play-in tournament that will start Tuesday. You got Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. I think there's no game on Thursday. So, yeah, because you'll have the doubleheader Tuesday, doubleheader Wednesday, and I think there's no game Thursday, and then you have the doubleheader on Friday to see who plays, and of course play on Sunday, where you have your Saturday schedule set pretty much the middle of that week once we get an idea of who's going to be the 7 seed after the opening round of the play-in tournament. But as I take a look at the standings here, yeah, you have Toronto. Now, they're just a half game ahead of the Heat. That could change. And that little cluster there, too, between Orlando, Toronto, Miami, Philadelphia. And the Hawks have been the hottest team. I could talk about OKC. I could talk about the Orlando. Now, yeah, the Thunder have won 8 in a row. And Orlando's won 7 in a row. But the hottest team in the NBA is the Hawks. What? They trade away Trae Young. They trade away Kristaps Porzingis. And guys like Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels and guys like that have led the attack here to the point where they are only in 9th place. Let's not get crazy. But they really turned their fortunes around to the point where they could actually get out of the play-in tournament as they're just 2 games behind the Raptors for the 6th seed. So this winning streak, now who knows? Do they run out of gas? Do they come back to earth? Do they continue this torrid stretch? I say it's unlikely, but considering that they are tied in the loss with Philly, a half game behind them for the 8th seed, and then a game behind Miami, but a game and a half in their standings there. But who knows? Could the Hawks overtake everybody and get themselves to the bulk of the Eastern Conference in the top 6? I'm going to say no, but they are the East. Miami's up and down. Philly, you don't know what you're going to get from with them. Now, mind you, Paul George does come back next Wednesday, the 25th, from that 20-game suspension because of the PED use. So you got to keep that in mind to see how he's going to fare once he gets back into the lineup. But that bottom rung there, 6, even 5, you got to say Orlando too. 5 through 9, where Charlotte is going to be up the rear. They're 500. They're 3 back in the loss. So they're probably going to stay at 10 because the Bucks, they're 5 games back. Forget about them. So that's what you have with the East. And out West, we talked about the 3 through 6. We know about OKC and San Antonio. Now the Suns, they have a 5-game lead over the Clippers. If you're the Warriors right now, the walking wounded who played well against the Knicks last night, had a 21 or 23-point lead. I didn't watch the game. I mean, no Steph Curry, no Draymond, no Porzingis. I mean, they had nobody. And they played well. Brandon Podziemski had 23 points. Guy Santos had 20 and were very competitive, but fell way short. But for the Warriors, right now, they're looking like they're going to be in the 9-10. And as it is, they're a half game ahead of the Trailblazers, who played the Knicks tonight at the Garden. I believe they played the Knicks. Yeah, they don't play the Brooklyn Nets. So they're in town. No, as a matter of fact, I got that wrong. It is the Nets. I just had to double check that. So they're in Brooklyn. So that could be a win. And Golden State is actually in Washington. So that could be a win for them too. But they're going to be battling it out to see whether or not who's going to be the home team for that 9-10 playoff. Now, I understand they could catch the Clippers. They are 2 games behind, but Steph Curry's been out, the last 10, 11 games, and it has really been a slog for this Warrior team. So who knows what you're going to get, and you can forget about Memphis is way behind. So when you think about it, when you look at the 10 seeds in each conference, that's probably what you're going to get. Now it's just a matter of who's going to get seeded where. Because Memphis in the West or Milwaukee, I don't see a big winning streak coming down the pike with those teams as far as them trying to get into the playoffs, or at least to the play-in tournament. And as far as your schedule for the early part of the week, games on Peacock, Orlando at Atlanta. So there you go. Someone's going to lose there. Your 7 and 9 game winning streaks, respectively, are going to get erased there in the ATL. You had the Lakers in Houston, 9:30. San Antonio at the Clippers. And again, those games are on Peacock. You know about Golden State. You know about Portland. Phoenix at Boston. Good game tonight. Memphis, Chicago, Dallas at New Orleans. Wrap up your Monday. Now, your NBC games tomorrow. Cleveland at Milwaukee. Not a great game. Philly at Denver. All right. If you have Embiid playing against Jokic, I believe that's why they probably have that matchup. Other than that, Miami at Charlotte, not bad. Oklahoma City at Orlando. Detroit, Washington. Pacers at Knicks. Phoenix, Minnesota. That'll round out. And San Antonio, Sacramento. And then Wednesday, ESPN double dip is Golden State at Boston. And then the Lakers at Houston. So Lakers are in Houston here over the early part of the week as they haven't played them in Houston this year. So there goes your 2 games there. Then they go to Miami after that for those curious. They play Miami Thursday. What else? Then you have Clippers in New Orleans, Atlanta at Dallas, Denver at Memphis. Yeah, the rest of the schedule is nothing to sneeze at. So that is your NBA for the early part of the week. Now, as far as the NHL, as I lace up my skates and take a trip around the ice, I know the big story over the last few days has been the suspension regarding the Anaheim Duck player Radko Gudas and his hit over the weekend, or really late last week, on Austin Matthews, the Maple Leaf winger, one of the top snipers in the sport, and how they only gave him a 5-game suspension. Now, for Gary Bettman, that's not on him, but for the people who had the disciplinarian, the player of safety and discipline, as far as guys who hand down these suspensions, I mean, what were they thinking? This guy Gudas has had more than 20 games on his ledger throughout his career as far as being suspended goes, and has been fined through the nose. And here it was, this hit, knee on knee, dirty hit. It didn't really look intentional, but knowing his history and knowing that he had an opportunity to take a shot, was he trying to go for his knee? Maybe not, but he was trying to hit him. I mean, no question. And because they went knee to knee and Matthews went down, now I believe it's a grade 3 MCL, which means he's done for the year. And Toronto's toast. They're not making the playoffs. They're done overall. So why even bring him back? Even if you could salvage whatever left of the season for them. But this guy needed to get more games. He needed to get at least 10 games. And people could say, oh, wait a minute, that's unfair. No, this guy's had a police blotter of suspensions. And I don't know. I'd have to go through the list to see how bad, whether they're boardings or spearings for that matter, or elbows, things of that nature. But that hit was a brutal hit, and it was on one of your game's best players. That even Connor McDavid came out and said, oh, what's going on here? What are we doing? In fact, let me see if I can pull up a quote. And if you're going to have the game's best player come out and say something, and you know, most of these NHL players, they're very tight-lipped. You do not have a lot of outspoken NHL players. And for him to come out and say something, then the league has to take notice. Edmonton Oilers captain spoke out Sunday about the league suspension process, Department of Player Safety, blah, blah, blah. Radko Gudas. I said Gudas. I know because I'm thinking Radko Gudas, so my bad by butchering his name. You know, I'm terrible with these names. he came out and said, if every time there's a suspension, everybody complains about it, why don't we take a look at the process and figure out if there's a better way to make sure that both parties are happy, because it seems like there's a lot of frustration. Let's see. What else did he say? And then Matthews' agent came out and said a few things in light of the obvious severity of the play. Disappointed and shocked that the league would allow such a ruling. McDavid also said, hold on, final examination. All right, Berube said it was a dirty hit or dirty play. And Berube was a tough guy. I'm sure Berube was dying. He wished he could look down that bench and be like, oh, I got Wendell Clark here. I got John Cordick when he went from Montreal to Toronto. He wished he had a guy like that on his bench. He does not. Sadly, that's how the league goes. I'm sure he would like to go out there and take Gudas by his face mask and just wipe him up all over the ice. Because Berube wouldn't stand for that. Not when he played in his day. But and then he had his teammates come out, and I mean, obviously, just terrible. How in the hell did this guy only get 5 games? So, and he'll be back, and I don't even think he's appealing. So he's sitting out the 5 games, but just a terrible job by the higher ups there in handing down the suspension to a guy who, again, has been suspended on multiple occasions. Just terrible. And as for the sport overall, I got news for you. If you're the Colorado Avalanche, you have a team that's looking right over your shoulder, and that's the Dallas Stars. But with that comes a caveat, because either one of those two teams, if the Stars outlast the Avalanche when it's all said and done, and let's say they're the President's Trophy winner, that's the last distinction that you want for an NHL team, to have the most points in the sport in the regular season to win that President's Trophy, because that is more of a curse than it is a blessing. Be that as it may, the Stars are charging. They are now 3 points behind the Avalanche there, although the Avalanche have a game in hand. But the Stars, who I picked to win the Stanley Cup final, I might add, by the way, against the Devils, who started off great, but then went in a nosedive. But for Dallas, playing fantastic. Who knows? Neck and neck. Let me see how many games they have left with Colorado. I'm sure they got at least 1 left. As I take a look at the schedule, it'll be nice if they play at the end of the year. The Stars, oh yeah, Wednesday night at Colorado TNT. And they also play him April 4th, Saturday afternoon, ABC. 2 more games. Those are going to be enormous games. And Dallas, look at their schedule real quick. Now, they got to come up east on their next, not the next road trip, because they're playing at Colorado, Minnesota. Not an easy trip. Then they host Vegas, have the Devils. And then they come to New York to play the Islanders, at Pittsburgh, at Philly, at Boston. So this late in the year, to have a trip like that could be tricky. And then they have the games against Colorado, as I mentioned. And then last 2 games of the year, at Toronto, at Buffalo. And Buffalo, as we talked about here over the last couple of weeks, they've played very well. Still in first place in the Atlantic, 4 points over the Tampa Bay Lightning. So we'll keep that in mind as we move it along. But when we look at the wild cards too, I know the Kraken just overtaken San Jose, and San Jose lost over the weekend. I believe they lost in Montreal and then Ottawa. No, they beat the Canadiens on Saturday, but they lost to the Senators yesterday. But what we have here, and I'll start out west, Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota. Minnesota 6 points behind the Stars, so there's some breathing room there as they've lost 3 in a row. Then you have a logjam between Anaheim, Vegas, and Edmonton, all separated by 2 points in that order, 77, 76, 75. Then you have Utah and Seattle to round out the wild cards. Utah 3 points over Seattle, and the Kraken have a game in hand. Then you have San Jose 1 point behind Seattle. The Kings 2 points. Predators 4 points. Winnipeg 5, and then after that it's St. Louis, Calgary, Chicago, and Calgary, which I won't even count them here. We mentioned Buffalo, Tampa, Montreal, all separated by 6 points. Montreal 2 behind Tampa at 84 points. Carolina with a 9-point lead over both the Penguins and Islanders that both have 81. Bruins and Red Wings tied at 80 for the wild card. Then you have Columbus at 79, Ottawa 77, the Flyers and Capitals at 74, and I'll cap it there because then you have the Maple Leafs 70, 10 points behind, which I won't even include now considering Matthews is out. And then the Panthers are 11 points back. They're cooked. Stick a fork in them. They are not getting in the playoffs or even get to a final, considering they've been to the final the last 3 years. Off the top of my head, it'll be interesting to see how far Tampa goes from this reason. The last 6 Stanley Cup finals, especially from the Eastern Conference, have all been played in Florida. Tampa in 20, 21, 22, albeit 20 was in the bubble north of the border. But then 23, 4, and 5 has all been in Florida. Does Tampa now all of a sudden get themselves back to where they keep at least the final? Because remember, they lost that third opportunity for them to get to a third straight cup. And then the Panthers, who got it the next year, lost to the Golden Knights in 23. So we'll see how that goes down at that time. But that is your NHL. And the schedule early on this week, Calgary at Detroit, Boston, New Jersey, Kings in New York to play the Rangers as they conclude their trip. They beat the Islanders Friday, lost to the Devils Saturday, and they play the Rangers tonight, who have won 4 in a row, by the way. Utah, Dallas, Pittsburgh, Colorado. Good games on the schedule tonight. Tomorrow, Islanders in Toronto, Boston, Montreal, classic. Carolina, Columbus, Minnesota, Chicago, Nashville, Winnipeg, San Jose at Edmonton, Florida, Vancouver, Buffalo, Vegas, Tampa, Seattle. And then Wednesday, you know about the Dallas-Colorado game. That is the game of the night. TNT doubleheader. Devils at Rangers is the opener at 7. Then you have Pittsburgh, Carolina, Ottawa, Washington, Dallas, Colorado, Philly, Anaheim, St. Louis, and Calgary. So that would round out your schedule before Thursday. All right, a few more things, people, before I get your comments. And I see they're still piling up, so I appreciate that. The NFL, real quick, as I put on my helmet and shoulder pads, and then a couple of quick things before I pivot. NFL, Kyler Murray signed with the Vikings. No surprise there. Who knows if he's going to be in competition with J.J. McCarthy for the starting quarterback. I could see them pushing one another. I believe Kevin O'Connell did say it's going to be wide open. So could Kyler Murray resurrect his career with Skull Nation? Obviously got a long time between now and then to hear about that. But then also Kirk Cousins, where does he go? Got released last week, as you know. Right now, status up in the air. Is he going to Pittsburgh? Is he going to the Jets? I just saw earlier that the Chiefs are looking to trade for Justin Fields. So who knows how that's going to go? It's probably going to be a late round, 6th or 7th round pick at this point. You're not going to get much for Justin Fields at this stage. In fact, let me see if I can pull that up because I did see the headline earlier. Yeah, I think it's official now. Jets trade Fields for a 2027 6th round pick. So next year they get their pick. And listen, if there's any place that Fields could do whatever he can to resurrect his career, it's Kansas City under Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. That's it. I mean, this is literally going to be his last shot because how else is he going to either flourish or blossom or whatever if he doesn't have the right pieces around him? And he's got the coach and he's got a quarterback that obviously in that room, he's going to pick his brain and get what he can from him. So, I mean, this is it. And I think it's just a 1-year deal, right? Because he's on the last year of his contract, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I believe that's it. So we got that to look forward to for the Chiefs. And then the Giants had a couple of minor deals with Darnell Mooney and Calvin Austin, 2 receivers. Austin, a former Steeler. And we don't know about the Steeler quarterback. That's another thing. Does Kirk Cousins kind of slide in there through the back door? Have no clue, no answers. That's kind of where we're at with the Steelers. But besides that, they also signed Jaquan Brisker from the Bears to be part of that secondary for Pittsburgh. And Dre Greenlaw goes back to San Francisco. Obviously, his familiarity with the organization, Kyle Shanahan, that's a no-brainer. So kudos to Greenlaw for going back home in that regard. And remember, he blew out his Achilles, I believe, in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs a few years back. So we'll see what Greenlaw does once the season rolls around in 6 months. All right, lastly, before I get to the comments, this is going to be a double dip. The golf, you had the Players' Championship where tooth and nail came down to the wire, and it looked like Ludwig Åberg was going to come away victorious as he didn't have a big lead, but went into the final day, top of the leaderboard, and then just fell apart to where Cameron Young and Matt Fitzpatrick were going at it to the bitter end. Birdie on 17 for Young propelled him to win the tournament. And again, it's not a major. I wasn't all over it. I did watch periodically over the weekend, especially on Saturday, but yeah, didn't really get a full grasp yesterday, although from what I read, Young, who had a very good final round. Let me see what he shot there. Cameron Young. But he prevailed. He wins the Players' Championship there down in Ponte Vida. And, yeah, well, I didn't want that. 30-17. Yes, I get it. But that was good for Cameron Young as he tries to get some traction. And Cameron Young, who's actually from, I believe he's from White Plains, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that. I think he's from Westchester County, Cameron Young. So, and he was a guy coming in that a lot of people thought once he turned pro that he was going to have a big-time pro career. Scarborough, New York. No, that's further north from here. So he gets a win under his belt, beats Matt Fitzpatrick, as you know, as the Masters are 3 weeks from this Thursday. So good tune-ups for guys like he to get himself in a position to where he can have some momentum going into Augusta. And I understand it's still a few weeks away, so who knows? I'm sure he'll probably play in another tournament between now and then. But kudos to Cameron, tip your cap for a good comeback. And let me see, his final round yesterday. Results. What did he shoot? That's not giving it to me. Of course. Oh, wait, here we go. Farmers, the players. Yeah, he shot a 68, and he shot well throughout the tournament. He had a 72 in round 3, which probably led him a few strokes back of the top part of the leaderboard, but certainly played well yesterday and wins the Players' Championship. So congrats to him. And then as far as tennis, breaking out the tennis racket real quick, you had Aryna Sabalenka get a little bit of revenge off of Elena Rybakina, who she lost to in the Australian Open, wins at Indian Wells yesterday in a very thrilling match where in the final match, I believe he had a tiebreaker 8-6, 7-6, 8-6 in the final set. So Sabalenka, let's see if that's going to carry her. Now, you still got to wait really 2 months before you even get to the French Open. But a bit of a comeback, a bit of a revenge for her. And then you had Jannik Sinner on the men's side beat Daniil Medvedev, who beat Carlos Alcaraz in the semifinals the day before. And both of those sets were tiebreak sets, but Sinner wins, and that match is a best of 3. That's not 3 out of 5. That match in Indian Wells, that's in California. So Sinner wins, and remember, he's trying to bounce back from that loss to Djokovic at the Australian, where Djokovic went on to the final, and then we know what happened there with Carlos Alcaraz. So that's what you have, people. A lot of sports, a lot to chop it up when it comes to that. Obviously, a lot of comments, actually right at 100. I love it, which I'll unpack here shortly, and we'll go through it. Matter of fact, let's do it right now. From Val B on down, Fishing Angel, Bio. Yeah, listen, is Fields going to even get on the field, no pun intended? Now, Mahomes is going to work feverishly to try to get himself back on the field by week 1. Tearing an ACL, when was it? In December? That was wasn't that against Jacksonville? That game? And wasn't that game on a Saturday? Yeah, so for him, I mean, that's going to be, and listen, can you even doubt Mahomes? You cannot, but listen, that's a good spot for Fields to land, if you ask me, but we'll see what's going to happen there when we get to training camp and even OTAs for that matter. If Mahomes is coming in there and taking snaps and doing things like that in the middle of June, he's going to be ready for training camp, the exhibition season, and of course, opening day. All right, Val, Warriors will win. Yes, you would think, playing the Wizards, and I would agree with you on that. And then Bio, yes. UCLA, UCF. I think UCLA can be dangerous. I think they can. I hope they are. For your sake, I'd like to see it. So we shall see. Automation Hub. How can baseball be better than MMA? Do I really need to unpack that there, Automation? Man's biology to be good at fire. Listen, I get that. Because is this excuse, you hit a ball better than me, I can knock it out, though. Yeah, but MMA, obviously there's a lot of skill involved in MMA. And I understand, octagon, 5 rounds. I know it's more of a popular sport here, obviously over the last decade and a half, even more than that. MMA's been around, 20 years? I mean, professionally, with the UFC, Dana White, etc. If you think it is, God bless you. Again, at its highest peak. And that's the thing. I know at its highest peak in any sport you could say that, but because baseball has no clock and you got to get that last out, that's why it's the best. MMA is under a clock that has 5 rounds. And although the judging isn't as crooked as boxing, but you never know. You could get one of those type of cards where a guy's like, nope, I saw this guy win the bout, whatever his card is. So at least that's what I think from the outside looking in. I'm not a big MMA guy. I do follow it. If it's a big match, I'll watch it. But I hear you, Automation. It's all good. Let's see. Val. Legendary in every sense. Okay. Yeah, that's still going on, right? The Paralympics? All right, what do we got? Vladdy. Is it his birthday today? Look at that. Happy birthday to Vladdy. Oh, that loss is rough. You got Vladimir Tarasenko. And then J-Rock, can't lie, nervous about Michigan winning a national championship. Yeah, it's not going to be easy, and that's the thing. We talked about it before with the bracket. Just because it's easy doesn't mean that they're going to get to a Final Four. And my thing is, there's always that one game, other than UConn now 3 years ago, and really even 2 years ago, because they weren't really challenged throughout any of the 12 games in winning those back-to-back titles. Usually there's always that one game where you got to pull yourself out of the fire, or you're trailing by 8 with about 4 minutes to go, and you win that game. Or it's back and forth, down to the wire. Not every game is going to be 78-50. And J-Rod, I feel you. With you 100%. Fishing Angel, yes. Hey, bro, hello, J-Rod. It's looking like Casey's injury is going to play a huge role. Could. Most definitely could. And then, yes, thank you, Fishing Angel, of course, as always. Shout out to you. Watch the video of yours while we're waiting for Jay. Oh, I appreciate that. That's good, J-Rod. Val, keep doing it, man. Keep doing what you're doing. And it's great to see the support from everybody in the room. Even listening to you, Val, that's great. Love to see it. Love to hear it. If so, I don't post anything. It's just old sports and music videos. And if that's the case, J-Rod, I should subscribe to you too. Please, all the love you've shown me, I got to return that. My two music and videos with J-Reels. Thank you, Fishing Angel. Oh, listen, you got a channel too? I got to subscribe to you guys as well. Come on. It's only fair. J-Rod, I can answer the question. I think I know what that was if I go back to it, because people don't think like that, J Reels. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, you know. Last night on Fox was new episodes of The Simpsons. Oh, yeah, God forbid. I understand the Oscars were on, but still. It's all about the money. Right, that's it. Couldn't have said any better. Yes, that was a great game. Without question. Giants fan, Matt. That's right. I know you're a big Matt Chapman fan there, Val. Absolutely better than not. Absolutely not better than the NFL. Not even better than college football playoff, but I get it. You're a baseball guy. Oh, so J-Rod saying not better than the NHL college football. All right, let me ask you this, J-Rod. That game wasn't compelling. That wasn't, and that's not to say the NFL doesn't. I could give you a million examples of the NFL. I could give you Scott Norwood wide right. I could give you even the Bears Lions, Bears Rams that I talked about earlier. As I heard, I can't take the credit for this. The 14 pitch at bat in May is not the same at bat in October. And even last night, looking at March, when Perdomo was fouling off those pitches, and now that taking close pitches too on top of that before he struck out, and that was a ball. I mean, oh geez, both of that. He and the Soto pitch, which I already talked about. Sam, talking NFL, I don't know if you're still with this here, Sam. If you are, I appreciate you. J-Ro's awesome, and J-Ron Fisher. Oh, thank you, Val. Thank you. Valley Fisher has never been a Tigers game. Oh, yeah, no, now is the Sam, if you're still here, I'm a huge Steeler fan. Ah, good stuff. A lot of love in the room. Val, nice. Been to Giants game at Oracle Park. It's fun there. Yeah, I've been outside. I've never been. J-Rod doing what he does, what he loves. This is what he does best. Oh, 100%. Love in the room. Great. Oh, yeah, always. That seems to be Fishing Angels' MO. Always being positive. Val, I've been to every sports team in Michigan. I started very young. I remember getting dropped. Yes. So you've been to all. So, right. You've been to, obviously, Big House, Spartan Stadium, Ford Field, Little Caesars, Comerica. Am I missing? No, that's it. I believe you've also been to Pontiac Silverdome, right? Before they knocked that down. And the Auburn Hills, I'm sure. The Palace. Always am, yes. Charlie Heck. All right. Charlie Heck. I'm sure he's gotten ridiculed a lot when he was in school. I'm just keeping today with Giants baseball. All right. I used to ride my bike 40 miles one way. Wow. 40 miles. That's excellent job there, J-Rob. Got a 3-day free trial of Fubo yesterday. Might as well use this. Watch your Red Wings. Oh, nice. Yeah, Fubo has the NHL. I didn't realize that. No, they have not. That's a good thing, Fishing Angel. Even though the Red Wings were falling apart. Yeah, looks like it's going to be a battle to the end there between the Red Wings and what's it called? Drew a blank there. Blanks. I just talked about it before. Who got the final spot? I just zoned out. Who's beneath them? Columbus, right? Jeez. Jay Reels, wake up. It is. Yes, in Columbus. Ay. All right, let's get right at it. Let's get to it. We always stand our ground, never give up. That's right. You're damn right you get to our comments. You know it. I forgot his name. I heard the Lions sign a quarterback from the Titans. Ooh, I got to look that up. Hold on. Oh, yeah, L'Jarius Sneed. Yeah, I think that's who it was. Yeah, I believe he was the one. He was the former chief corner. Hold on a second. They don't have it updated here? It's L'Jarius Sneed. Come on, man. I got to get hip to this. I believe that's who it is, though, J-Rod. Because he was in Kansas City, then went to Tennessee, and I believe he's not with you guys. Yes. Talk about dedicated fans, indeed. I'm surrounded by your face on the TV. Ooh, that's scary. In front of me, on my phone in front of me, next to me. Oh, man. I'm everywhere. That's a testament to you guys, man. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. You know that. And again, I know you're sick and tired of me hearing that, but I do not, I repeat, I do not take that for granted. All right, let's see where we're at. Val, yeah. Let's see. I dented our bumper the other day. Is that right? Oh, geez. You're all right, though. Nothing happened. I'll take care of it when it gets warmer and fix it. All right. Oh, is that right? Max Urbano, day-to-day lower body injury. The Islanders. Injury of the J-Rod is broken. Yeah, I think they're going to win also. 100%. No, you're not getting. Yeah, that's it. Just getting older. That's a good one there, Fishing Angel. Hate this time of year where the changes. Big time. Get your back. That's even worse. Yeah. Oh, no. Is that right, Fishing Angel? Almost slipped and fell on the basement rug? That's dangerous. Thankfully, you didn't. Poured here last night, a little bit of water in the basement this morning. Ugh. Drew Eubanks understand. Oh, look at that. Kings. I know that Bio's not happy about that. The Kings should get moved to the WNBA. They are a joke. Wait, you're talking about the LA Kings? Or Sacramento? Oh, if it's probably Sacramento then. Only reason why, because that's what Kings center Drew Eubanks. Oh, I said NBA. I know. I had LA Kings on the brain. I'm thinking of, yeah. Again, half asleep here. Terrible job. All right, here we go. Did it cancel? No, I actually, it's funny you say that. I have it here on one of my tabs. I could pull it up. Well, no, I can't play it because then I'm going to get copyright. Damn it. No, I am going to listen to it. So trust me, by Wednesday's live stream, I will have. Now, he has an album out. I don't even, as a matter of fact, let me see, because I have, where's that tab? Hold on. I know I have it here. Brackets. Did I X out of that? Oh, no, right here. Hold on. All right, let me scroll. Oh, what did I just do? Hold on a second. Did I just lose that? Because I clicked that instead. All right, let's go back. Tom McDonald. Yeah, because I definitely want to listen to that. New digital album everywhere. Anti. Oh, he's Canadian too. Look at that. Yeah, because I saw, I just looked at some of the songs that it's from 2019, God Mode. Oh, is he wait, let me open up his music has been characterized as truth rap. His music is characterized as MAGA rap. Okay. September 21st. Oh, okay, fake woke. All right, let's see. Wait, that's interesting. He's Canadian, but he talks. But he talks about, unless he lives in the States now. That's interesting. That's like us. That's like having a musician here talking about Justin Trudeau. Ben Shapiro. All right, yeah, I'll definitely check this out. And how old is he? I saw 37. He started rapping at 18. Yeah, I'm going through this whole what you call it. Definitely by Wednesday, Fishing Angel. I got you. Kings haven't been anything since Chris Webber Pacers. Yeah, I know they've been bad. They had that one good year a few years ago with De'Aaron Fox and, of course, the Monte Sabonis. But yeah, they've hit the skids. Need some coffee? I know I've been drinking water and I need something else. Hate waking up. Oh, gee. I was playing Frogger for Sega Genesis last night. Yeah, Frogger, I used to play that too. Sega Genesis. Let me think. Well, the graphics, let me see. Is that a Sega game, Frogger? I think it was. I used to like Frogger. I actually had it for Atari, which is showing my age. 101. Why not? I had to. Nah, it's all good. WWE is bigger than UFC. Oh. Hey, let him cook. Pittsburgh Steelers, if you're still here. That was 12-12. That was 12 minutes ago. Hopefully you're still here. Oh, look at this. Thoughts on Ronda Rousey bashing UFC, but going back to wrestling? I know she has her fight with Gina Carano. I didn't hear about that. If she's bashing the UFC, what did she say? Let me pull that up. Slams Dana White. Oh, the John Jones thing? Yeah, let me get the news because I don't want to play any videos. Oh, wow. Ronda Rousey. This is MMAfighting.com. UFC legend Ronda Rousey isn't impressed by organization lately. Comeback fight, blah, blah, blah. Spoke fun of how our Netflix aired event, which includes Francis Ngannou, is superior to UFC's White House lineup. I don't even know what the White House lineup is. It used to be at the UFC was the best place that you could come in combat sports to make a living and be paid fairly. Now it's one of the worst places to go. That's why so many of the top athletes are leaving to go. Find pay elsewhere. It's why the champions like Valentina Shevchenko are selling pictures of their. Oh, okay. I'm OnlyFans. All right. Yeah. Yeah. She went in. If that's true, then yeah. If that stuff is true, then Dana White's got to do better. That's all there is to it. Wait, what's this fishing angel on my YouTube? Okay. I watched it. I was into it. I was screaming, yelling, jumping up and down like a Michigan game, all Lions game. All right. Wait, you're referring to the baseball, right? Oh, hold on. Just music videos. All right. So should I subscribe? I mean, I will. No, not Silverdome. I've been to Western Michigan game. Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh, I'm sure you've been all those. Pontiac Silverdome with Hulk Hogan. Oh, is that right? Oh, look at that. I didn't realize it was in the Pontiac Silverdome. Oh, look at that. Donavis was JR was there. He's badass, yeah. You're talking about Tom McDonald. Yeah, and I saw that his wife, Nova Rockefeller. It's weird though. If he's Canadian, like what is he doing talking about? I mean, not that he can do whatever he wants. I could care less, but I'm surprised that let me see, does he live here? And listen, I could care less. If he lives here, fine, good for him, but hold on. Does he live in LA? Yeah, he lives in LA. All right. No, this was 2 years. No, this was last year. Is this right? This is on X or Twitter. I don't want to call it X. I always call it Twitter. Let me see. Listen, you can't believe all. Wow, that's interesting. I'm looking at this one picture of him. He has a guitar. Yeah, he's all tatted up as you see. All right, I'm not going to go down this road, but it's interesting. Obviously, we know where his slant is, but he's Canadian. Based on this, I don't know, that may have changed. Lives in America, but is not a citizen. Now, listen, I could care less. He's here, fine, whatever. But it's a little ironic. That's like us talking about Canada, and we live in Canada, but we're not citizens. I don't know. Hey, teachers, though. You know me. I don't get wrapped up in that stuff. But I just found it fascinating in that regard. I was like, wait a second. He's famous now. Yeah, that's never heard of him. Legacy music was very political. Yeah, I mean, based on what I saw on whatchamacallit, on Wikipedia. Him and his wife used to be homeless. They made a big deal with their music. Yeah. Fishing games will sub to your channel, but on my subscribers on my channel can't see you guys sub to yours, though. All right, Val. Andrew Wingard, Cardinals player, signed NFL team. Safety. No, hey, here we go. RH in the house. No, we're not going to talk about. We are not going to talk about the performer at the halftime show. Sorry, RH. Linebacker brought his daughter to the press conference. Saw it on X. Uh-oh. Alabama basketball player arrested before NCAA Tournament. That's not good. Let's see. Ah, no bark. No bark. No bark. No bark. Who was arrested there? The novice. Before March Madness. Alabama's second leading scorer. Okay, yeah. Aiden Holloway. First degree possession of marijuana. Is he going to be out on bail? You know what's going to happen? He's going to be out on bail. He's going to probably play on Friday. The game isn't until Friday. And yeah, I know it may be messed up, whatever. Think about the kid Brandon Miller. Funny enough, at Alabama, when he got involved in that whole whatever, like he was driving in the car where one of his friends executed his girlfriend. What? Oh, geez, this is a mess. And he played in the tournament. So, yeah, I don't see him missing any time. I'd be surprised. I don't have an X account. Social media is not my thing. YouTube is the only thing I do. Yeah, the only reason X is because it's good for news. And I'm not talking about regular news, sports news. So, yeah, I don't. Let me think. Yeah, now X, I came in, or Twitter. I don't want to give the guy the satisfaction of calling it X, even though he's changed it. It's Twitter. Damn it. Oh, no. Then RH came out the difference. Nobody in the U.S. says, well, you know, right, because we don't live there. But then he wants to talk about you know who. Oh, I know that. RH. Wait, you wouldn't happen to be in cahoots with Mark Sammons, would you? Remember that from the other day? Yes, Aiden Holloway, the novice. All right. Klay Thompson listed doubtful for the Mavs. That's right, Val. All right, let's see what else we got. You know what? If you want to give me a second, people, I just need to take a bit of a bathroom break. So I'm just going to put the BRB. So bear with me for 1 second. I know 12:30. Talk a little bit more. We can wind down this plane or get ready to land it. But bear with me 1 second while I hit the head. So stand by. All right. Back in the saddle. Mark Sanchez, the guy whose butt fumble was the second most embarrassing thing he's ever done. Yeah, that's true because the other one was in Indianapolis when he fought that guy in a loading dock at a hotel. I mean, whatever happened with that? Now that I think about it, let's look that up. Mark Sanchez arrest. Yeah, he stabbed somebody, or I think he got stabbed. Oh, criminal trial moved to April. Let's see. Yeah, this is all video stuff. Mark Sanchez dating history. Get out of here with that. So that's gonna happen here in April. Yeah, I don't know what happened. He got drunk, and I mean that was a mess. This is 5 months ago. No, it's something recent. Facing felony charge of battery involving. Listen, I get it. Maybe he's got issues. I know that they said he was drunk. Like, why would he start with a guy? And the guy I think was like 60 something years old. So, yeah. Oh, look at this. I never saw the video. There he is walking. Yeah, he looked like he was bombed. I don't know, man. All I got to say is, and listen, everybody, we're all not perfect. I get that. But how he got involved with this guy, and look at the picture of the guy. Jeez. Got all this stuff. The 60 some odd year old guy got stabbed. But I think the guy tried to stab Sanchez, did he not? Yeah, physical altercation, felony charges, serious bad. Yeah, it's just so weird. I mean, come on, man. You're just like throwing your career away. I don't know. I get it. Everybody's different. Yeah, exactly. I forgot about that too. RH, I'm glad you came up with something there. People scare me. I just watched a video of a girl going crazy because she couldn't wear a hat during a test. Where was that? In a school? Yeah, I don't want. I mean, it's so funny. I didn't hear about that. It's weird. I'm not one of those that's into watching those type of. I kind of hate to use this term, but those train wreck videos, where it's people fighting on the street, or somebody getting run over, or somebody flipping out on somebody, or fights in school. I don't know. I just that to me. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like any of that stuff, I just can't. And that's why I don't watch the news. I don't. I've never, just to give you an idea, people, since birth, to me, the back page is the front page. And now I'm dating myself because who buys or reads newspapers in this day and age? But I mean, let's face it. All the news that's out there, it's bad. It's all programmed for people. Listen, and I shouldn't even get on this case, but yeah. So yeah, I just don't buy. Just don't get wrapped up in it. I don't. Now I try to keep myself abreast by doing my own research. So if I see of a story or a headline, whatever, it's like, nah, let me see. Because yeah, again, I don't watch anybody. I don't watch CNN. I don't watch MSNBC. I don't watch Fox. I don't watch Newsmax. I don't watch any of that. I don't watch the local news. I don't. I could care less. But yeah, it's all garbage. Yes, there was a college girl throwing a fit because she couldn't wear a hat during a test. I mean, jeez. Hey, the novice also subscribes to Val's channel. That's good. Yeah, it is. I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. I understand we live in a crazy world and a crazy time, et cetera, et cetera. This is why I want to spread cheer, positivity, uplift. That's it. That's right. Like J-Rod says, hat, not hate. No, I knew what you were mentioning. You know? That's why in time I'll add more to my channel as far as that. like some positivity stuff, things of that nature. That ties into the sports and things that I do. So, but yeah, that's what you got there. Let me see. What else we got, people? Anything else? I agree. I don't understand it. I just, yeah, come on. You got a hat on. They ask you to take it off. You're inside of a building, public building, and you're going to throw a fit. Way too much. Yeah, it's in the whole world. I mean, I know we can only talk about from here, from where we live, from the U.S. side of things. That's right. Why can't we all get along? Sounds simple, right? But that's the thing. People talk about that all the time. It's easy to hate, where to me it's just as easy to be kind and show love. But usually the people that spread hate, let's face it, and I'm not a professional by any means, but the people who spread hate are the people who always point fingers. They don't look at themselves. So, like I said the other day when going that exchange with Mark Salmons, the ones that leave those comments, the ones that hate, the ones that they're never doing better than you are. Never. Because if they are, why would they even have hate? Because haters say, yeah, no, it is. Because again, and I understand that's what the media wants to focus on. We can't see like somebody saving puppies, or that's why I love, especially I'll just leave it to sports. I love to see at sporting events where if a guy catches a foul ball and he sees a young boy or girl, he gives them the ball, or, you see stuff like that. And it's minor. It's not a big thing. It's not going to get any headlines, but you love to see stuff like that. Or someone that's down on their luck, they want to help out, and I understand that could be iffy too, because those are like photo ops and whatever, but yeah. Yeah, no, it is sad, but it's crazy because here with social media and the way people are, and I could talk about that forever. I could, please. You could also hide stuff in a hat to cheat. That's right. Maybe that's the reason why she didn't want to take it off, and then all the notes come falling out, or the notes are taped to the top of the hat. I mean, come on. 100%. Not even 100, 1,000%. Fishing Angel. All right, let's see what else we got. Anything else happening here before I bid adieu? Oh, I know the NBA wants to talk about expansion. I didn't mention that. Set for first vote, Las Vegas, Seattle. Seattle needs a team. That I agree with. And Vegas, because they're going to have, think about this. 9 years ago, oh no, it's more than that, because they got the bid for the team probably 2015. Let's say 10 years ago, it was forbidden to have sports in Vegas because of the gambling aspect of it. Oh, no way they'll have a professional sports team in Vegas. Do our damnedest, so on and so forth. Well, if they get an NBA team that would start playing 28, 29, I guess they're not going to decide on this until they're going to talk about it next week. Then first vote will allow the league to focus on Las Vegas and Seattle bidding process. Then there'll be a potential final vote later in the year to finalize the transactions of 32 teams. And you got to get 23 of the 30 governors that vote in favor. So 10 years ago, you had no sports, no anything in Vegas. And now you're going to have 4 major sports teams by the time you get to the, 28, 29 season? Did I just say that? Yep, 28, 29. Because that's the year in 29, I believe. No, in 28. That's when Vegas is going to have the A's. You have Golden Knights, Raiders, A's, and whatever the Las Vegas team is going to be. Boy, how times are a-changing. Mexico City's a black. Yeah, there were talks about them. Who knows? Please, the NFL, they talk about, oh, we want to have a team in London, like full time. Oh, my God. Bananas. Yeah, Mexico City would be cool. Why not? Please, they got the Raptors. They had Vancouver, but they didn't last. They lasted about what? They didn't last a decade. They came in existence when? 95? I think it was 95, 96. And then they left. I think it was like 02, 03. No, maybe 01, 02, I think it was. So they weren't even there 7 years. 6 years, I think. Yeah, terrible. All right, people. I think I'm going to get ready to land this sucker. Oh, they already have putting infrastructure with a G League team. Oh, that's good. Yeah, that G League team, I can see it probably from either Phoenix, maybe one of the Texas teams. I can see that. Life is too short to be butthurt all the time over other people. As a drug addict, I never understood that. Well, that's the thing, man. Not only did you put in the work, but you pointed the finger at you. And sadly, there's too many people that are willing to point the finger at somebody else, that they're not going to take accountability or ownership for the things that they've done. Just like you, Jay, you could have easily been like, oh, well, I'm still battling drug addiction. I'm still battling this. Oh, why me, blah, blah. You're like, no. I got to get my act together. I got to make sure that for my family, for my own health and well-being, I got to stop this, or I'm going to continue to go down this path to where, God forbid, you're either in jail or dead. But for every one of you, there's a 99 that don't. That they'll find a reason to cop drugs, that they'll find a reason to be like, oh, it's not me, it's somebody else. And that's why I can't stand. That's why I don't respect either. Because for those out there who, and it doesn't matter, it's the drugs, gambling, sex, whatever. Find a way. Enjoy it. That's right. And how you enjoy it is however, whatever it is. You want to collect stamps? Great. You want to run 100-mile races? Fantastic. You want to dig ditches for a living? No problem. But at the same time, you got to be kind and all that in the process, because how many people could talk about them being, oh, I'm a good guy? Or first of all, when somebody's saying that they're a good guy, you got to kind of like, really? Why do you have to say that you're a good guy? Just let your actions speak. That's it. But yeah, it's just a shame. You see it all the time. People just listen. I mean, I don't want to come across as the morality police by any stretch, but yeah, it is. You could certainly say that there are a lot of people that aren't doing better for themselves and will continue to use that and weaponize that without having to look in the mirror, because they don't want to hold themselves accountable. Because it's true. It rings way too true that, oh, it just can't be me. Please, I had something this morning where I easily could have blamed. And here's the case in point, if I may share this. And I'll promise I'll keep this at a minute. So I went to bed late watching the baseball, preparing, whatever. Get up 5:30 in the morning, work on the podcast, or work, get everything together. Then wife alarm goes off. I get back into bed. I don't roll out of bed until she's getting ready or halfway ready. Then I got to take the dog out. The dog is wet because it's raining. Come back, paws, belly, everything's wet. Got to dry her. Then I got to drive the wife to the train. And even though I did say I was going to take her to the train yesterday, but the dog is wet. She breaks out the blow dryer. Hey, blow dry the dog. I'm thinking, all right, maybe I should do this now. And she goes, well, I guess I got to do this now. I don't know if I'm going to be able to take you to the train. Oh, well, forget about that. What? All right. So I take her to the train. She's not happy with me. On top of that, I come back. I got to set up. I got to do the podcast pregame. And it's just like, what the hell happened? But I realized I should not go back into bed on podcast days, despite how tired I am, because if I would have walked, I would have plenty of time to dry her, take her to the train, all that. So that's why I had to look at me, and I was pissed off at myself. That's why if you watch the opening of that podcast pregame, I was kind of like, scattered brain or Scrambled brains. So that's it. That's that. All I want to do is watch sports by trading cards and selling a few mugs. There you go. The novice. Exactly. Hundo. You know, and that's the other thing too. People don't want to do hard things. And sometimes doing the hard thing is looking from within to fix yourself. And to me, the only way you grow, the only way you learn, the only way that you really become your best authentic self, and I know this is based on experience, is doing the hard work. You want to get in shape? You got to bust your ass, get in the gym, run, exercise, eat right. Nobody says you have to be impeccable. Oh, man, it's a Sunday. I want to cheat. Oh, I want to have cookies today. Well, fine. But still, you got to get back on the beam and do that. As you guys well know, me doing this endeavor for my podcast, the channel, etc. What do you think? I'm going to sit here and cry, oh, I haven't gotten a deal. Nope. Got to keep on keeping on. And I fished my whole life. You know how many times I've been harassed fishing? Oh, geez. And the novice, there you go. And the novice has been there, excuse me, during some bad times in my life. Maybe not in the middle of it, but going through a transition period, which I've talked about here before. He was there. And and even then I think back and I say to myself, why did I act that way? Why did I behave this way? Whatever. But I had to, again, look in the mirror and do the hard work. And I'm continue to do the hard work. It ain't easy. I just say nothing. Missing my whole life. If I'm doing it, I know it's legal. I wouldn't be doing it. There you go. Yeah, if you get harassed, come on. Right. If you know you're fishing in a place that's private, what are you going to do? You're not going to be like, I don't care. I'm going to fish here. No, you're going to be like, all right, sorry, sir. Zzz, go elsewhere. That's it. But that's the thing. You have people that are entitled that feel like, oh, no, I belong here. Oh, no, this, who says who, and blah, blah, blah. So, right. So that's like me. That's like me going to somebody's property and like shooting a basketball. Like I bring my basketball and I have a rim on the outside in front of their home and I'm going to go shoot. People can be like, yo, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, we're just shooting a basketball. Yeah, it's my property. Well, I don't care. I have a basketball. I want to shoot. No, go to a public park and do that. Saying nothing just makes them more mad at you. Yo, I can see that because they're like, yo, you're just ignoring them. I know. And listen, do I have all the answers? I do not, but it's simple common sense. That's it. But I like what the novice said here. And continued reflection, because again, even this morning, as I'm trying to figure out what the hell just happened, I'm running late. Dog has to be taken care of. Oh, wife, I got to drive it to the train. Oh, I tell you. Yeah, and I could get into all that stuff too, man. Because, hey, listen, we're all, I'll say this, and then I'll start to land this plane. We are all spiritual beings living a human experience. Because think about it. I mean spiritual. We're not talking about religious. We're not talking about, no. We're talking about spiritual beings. Because we are what we make this life out to be. If you're the type that going to moan and groan, you're going to complain, you're going to bitch and moan about this or whatever, blah, blah, then you're right. Your spirit is not a spirit that I want to be around. If your spirit is like, yeah, it's been tough, it's been rough, but you know what? Hey, man, I got to keep plugging away. I got to keep plowing, whatever. Fantastic. That's the type of person I get behind. Or someone that, yeah, they could be a party animal. You have a good time, you have fun, whatever. But then those times I was like, yo, man, I need to talk to you. I don't know. I got my own problems. What? Then you're not really a friend. Or someone that's always upbeat, whatever, but has gratitude, that's not fake. Because you can have that person that, yeah, is a front runner. Oh, life is great, whatever. But when life is bad, it's like, oh, I don't want to talk to anybody. It's like, come on, man. Not every day is going to be a rose garden. So my point is that we are all spiritual in that regard. And yes, not every day is going to be, as I like to say, coconuts and palm trees. But if your outlook is coconuts and palm trees with a perspective of realism involved, then you're living life. You're not delusional to think like, oh, hey, look at me taking selfies on the beach on my vacation, living my best life. I beg to differ. Hey, maybe living your best life for that moment, but we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. That's why I like to be transparent to you guys. I'm not going to be here and just be all fake or whatever. No. Now, right, am I going to like spill my guts? Depending on the day, I could be forthright, whatever, but that's just part of me. And that's all you guys are ever going to get, especially when I talk about sports, which to me, this is the light work of life, but it's what I do to present. And there's never a day that goes by where I think like, oh, I don't want to do this today. And even this morning when I'm thinking about, geez, with everything that was happening, I'm like, damn it, now I got to like get on with the live and I got to feed the dog and I got to do all this stuff. And I just had a little disagreement with the wife. But guess what? Once that light goes on, that's it. Because showing up is half the battle. And what you do when you show up says more about your character than the person who doesn't show up or doesn't want to show up or doesn't want to look in the mirror. So I'll just leave it at that. In Michigan, no one owns a river. I've been yelled at to get out of public river. I hear that, Jay. Fishing Angel, I appreciate you. And yes, don't worry. Come Wednesday, we'll talk about that. Mr. McDonald. But what's this? Love the truth is a positive. Thank you, Fishing Angel. I appreciate that. Always, you know that. And that'll do it, my good people. Another episode just about in the books. As always, I thank you so much for stopping by, carving out precious time out of your days, watching from start to finish, especially here live. It truly goes beyond saying how much I am grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for your support. And yeah, for those who aren't aware, on board, etc., this is your chance. Subscribe to the channel at J Reels or on Apple or Spotify, the J Reels podcast. Please throw me a few stars, write a review. I would sincerely appreciate it because I'm going nowhere. As long as I'm alive and breathing, I'm going to continue to pump out these live streams, podcast pre-games, Monday, 9:45 and Thursday. The live stream at 12 noon. I'm in the middle of doing my 31 days of live streams for the month of March. Obviously, I got 2 of them in today. Tomorrow, I don't know what time. You're just going to have to just be on alert. Hopefully, those notifications go off. And that's another thing. If you subscribe and hit the notification bell, you'll know when I go on live. Because talking sports is birth is pretty much what I do. It's in the blood and the DNA. And if you want to hit me up on any of my socials, you could do so on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, the J Reels Podcast, or J Reels on Instagram, Twitter, J Reels1, just the number, Twitch, J Reels1, just the number, or the old-fashioned way, the J Reels Podcast at gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to follow up with any questions, comments, suggestions, whatever it may be. Hey, IDK, what's going on, my man? Real quick. But as far as what it is that I do, where else are you going to get all this? Every sport, basketball, baseball, football, hockey, MMA, golf, tennis, college basketball. Where else? One podcast. Because you know that as long as I'm in front of this camera microphone, I promise I'll deliver nothing but passion, fire, energy, fury, my thoughts, opinions, critiques, praise, analysis, feelings on anything and everything that happens on all of the diamond, ice, gridiron, hardwood, golf course, racetrack, tennis court, boxing ring, octagon, you name it. From my lips to your ears, from my heart to your soul, from where I am to wherever you are. The J Reels podcast always comes live, correct, direct, and in full effect. From the South Bronx, the South Beach, the South Central, the South Pacific, and all points beyond, peace, love, and God bless everybody. And until next time on the J Reels podcast, on the flip, baby. And yes, J-Rod, have a great day. Going to church camp today. All the best. St. George, good for you, IDK. We'll catch up tomorrow or Wednesday in the live stream, 12 noon. I'll be on live at some point tomorrow to continue my 31 days. Again, I appreciate you hopping on board here last minute. Good luck to you in church camp. Thank you, everyone, once again. Much love, much respect. And as always, until next time, on the flip. You got one last thing? Don't go yet. RH, hit me up in the comments. I'll follow up. But I got you. I know. All right, IDK, I appreciate you. Thank you. And yes, RH, we still haven't talked, and who knows when we will. But until then, on the flip, baby.